Frederick Douglass knew that his mother was black, but he never knew who his dad was or who his father was. They would make you bleed. Hello, hi, namaste, and welcome to Vidhyaashram, the Temple of Excellence. I am Nanda Kishore, Faculty of English in Vidhyaashram, Mysuru. In my previous session, I had discussed about the chapter Watchman of the Lake written by R.K. Narayan. And in today's session, I am going to talk about Frederick Douglass. If you want to understand this chapter, you have to know about American history. So let me take you all back to American history and slave trade. If you don't know what slave trade is, or if you don't know how English white people dominated black slave people, this chapter would not be better understood. So buckle up your seats. Let us have a roller coaster in today's session. Who is Frederick Douglass? Why is he so prominent in American black slave trade system? Let us know in today's class. He is none other than Frederick Douglass. And in his autobiography, he writes his age is not so confirmed because he is not sure about his date of birth. He is not sure where he was born, but he could just give the reader an approximate outline about his life and his life history through this excerpt. If you don't know what is excerpt is just a written piece of information about something which is taken from the entire biography or the autobiography. So this chapter for first PUC is prescribed as an excerpt, a small piece out of a big writing. And in this chapter, we are going to know why Frederick Douglass writes about himself, about his people, about his struggle, about his community, about his black people. Why is it so prominent? I would just relate this context, this chapter, with the freedom struggle of our own country. Like Indians, even the black people in Europe, in America, they fought for their rights. They fought for their freedom. Think about it. We were ruled about 400 or 400 plus years. It is like 4 centuries. And likewise, even in America, people, especially black people, were dominated. They were killed. They were brutally treated. They were just treated worse than animals. And in this chapter, Frederick Douglass gives a clear picture about his childhood, about his struggle, and the way he lost his half of his life. Frederick Douglass was born in 1818. Initially, he was a slave boy. He was working under a master, but somehow he manages to escape from his master, and then he becomes a prominent leader and who goes on to orate and to give public speeches against the abolition of black people domination. So let us see what this chapter all about. There is something called pre-reading activity. Have you heard of Abraham Lincoln? You should have. You should know this person. He was the 16th president of America, United States of America, and he was the first person to sign the Emancipation Proclamation Act. Let me tell you, as the chapter goes on, let me tell you what this Emancipation Proclamation Act and why it is so prominent in the history of United States of America. And the horrors of the slave trade in the United States of America, have you heard of? You should know. Go back to internet, take help, surf the internet, dig out for the slave trade or the horrors which happened, which took place in United States of America. What do you know about the following historic events? This is a pre-reading activity. That is something which takes you, we should know. We call it as a background of the chapter. So these are the background of the chapters, what we get to know, and it is a must to know these concepts before we proceed further. The Emancipation Proclamation issues in 1863. This was signed by Abraham Lincoln, and this Proclamation Act says that all the black people, all the slave people who are within the rebellious states are free from henceforth. They are free till 1863. Since when? From when? Most probably ages together. Before 1863, it could be like hundreds of years or thousands of years, black people were treated very badly. They were ill-treated, they were tortured, they were beheaded, they were killed, they were used as a commodity. They were not even given the place of animals. But in the year 1863, Abraham Lincoln signs this act, Emancipation Proclamation issues. According to this act, Abraham Lincoln says all the black slave people are free who are within the rebellious states. All the men are born equal. He is one of the prominent persons. The second person is the civil rights movement led by Martin Luther King Jr. He was assassinated. He was the rebellious leader. There was a powerful speech which was given by Martin Luther King. And this speech was so much powerful, it impacted the lives of black people. They got to know the rights about themselves. They realized that black people are not less or subordinate to white people, and they have the rights to live the way the white people are living. That triggered, that was the ignition of this powerful fire which was lit by Martin Luther King, and which went on. Even today there is a lot of fight which takes place in United States of America. To compare this topics, you can go to YouTube or you can download a movie called Mercy. If you have watched Black Panther movie, there is a villain. The villain has played the main role in this movie. Kindly download it, watch the movie. You would understand why black people were targeted so badly. Even today it happens in most of the countries. Let us say in United States of America, or it could be in some European countries, black people were targeted, and even now they are targeted. Just because they are black, that doesn't mean they are wrong. Now, this is the clip that you have to watch. This is the clip and this is the speech that Martin Luther King gave for the people, who went on giving the speech which triggered, which ignited the fire to realize the rights of the black people. Here is a video clip for you.
I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed.
I have a dream. Remember, Martin Luther King Jr. gave a superb speech. He has the dream of living a free life in a free country. That's how powerful his words were. Now, there is something called free text. What is this? The text we know. As we go on to the text, those are the words written by Frederick Douglass. But there is something which is concerning before the actual concepts. Before we pitch into the main picture, there is something background you need to know. Frederick Douglass was born in slavery as Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. His first name was Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey, near Easton in Talbot County, Maryland. He was born in Maryland. He was not sure of the exact year of his birth, but he knew that it was 1817 or 1818. As I told you, he was not sure of his birthday, his date of birth, his age. We know our age. We know our date of birth. We celebrate our birthdays. But what about the people of slave trade? Did they know? they didn't. And not just that, as a young boy, he was sent to Baltimore to be a house servant where he learned to read and write with the assistance of his mother's wife. He was sent to where? One more question. Baltimore, where he learned to read and write. In 1838, this is very important, in 1838, he escaped from slavery and went to New York City where he married Anne Murray, a free colored woman. The meaning of free colored woman is nothing but they are neither white nor black. They are almost like wheatish. Not wheatish as such, but they are neither white nor black. Free colored woman whom he had met in Baltimore. Soon thereafter, he changed his name to Frederick Douglass. You should know his first name was Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey, but after 1838, where he married Anne Murray, again one more question, Anne Murray, he changed his name to Frederick Douglass. In 1841, he addressed a convention of Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society. He goes on to become an orator where he gave public speeches to realize the rights of the black people. In 1841, this is also very important, in 1841, he addressed a convention of the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society in Nantucket and so greatly impressed the group that they immediately employed him as an agent. As I told you, he was an extraordinary orator. He was such an impressive orator that numerous persons doubted if he had ever been a slave. So he wrote narrative, this is one more question, narrative of the life of the Frederick Douglass, autobiography. And this chapter is an excerpt, a piece which is taken from this narrative. During the Civil War, he assisted in the recruiting of colored men for the 54th and 55th Massachusetts regiments and consistently argued for the emancipation of slaves. Emancipation, freeing the slaves. After the war, he was active in securing and protecting the rights of the free men. In his later years, at different times, he was secretary of the Santo Domingo Commission, Marshal and Recorder of Deeds of the District of Columbia, and United States Minister of Haiti. His other autobiographical works are My Bondage and My Freedom and Life and Times of Frederick Douglass. Both are autobiographies published in 1855 and 1881 respectively. He died in the year 1895. So this is the pretext about this chapter. Now let us move to the main text. Remember, autobiography. So this is an excerpt, a piece of information or piece of writing which is taken from the autobiography. I stands for Frederick Douglass. I was born in Tuckahoe near Hillsborough. Where was he born? Tuckahoe near Hillsborough, and about 12 miles from Easton in Talbot County, Maryland. Now, if you get a question, where was Frederick Douglass born? He was born in Tuckahoe, Maryland is the right answer. I have no accurate knowledge of my age. Imagine these words and feel for it. What would be your response if you don't celebrate your birthday when your friends are celebrating? What would you feel, or how would you feel when you don't know your age? Frederick Douglass says, I have no accurate knowledge of my age, never having seen my authentic record containing it. Frederick Douglass ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ನನಗೆ ನಾನು ಹುಟ್ಟಿರುವಂತಹ ಜಾಗ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬಹುದು, ಆದರೆ ನಾನು ಯಾವ ಇಸ್ವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಡೇಟಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನನಗೆ ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗ್ಲೂ ನನಗೆ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕೂಡ ಸುಳಿವಿಲ್ಲ. By far the larger part of the slaves know as little, this is a beautiful comparison, as little of their ages as horses know of theirs. A fantastic comparison. He says, almost ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಲೇವ್ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಏನಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅವರ ಏಜ್ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಹಾರ್ಸಸ್ ಕುದುರೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಡೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಬರ್ತ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲ್ವೋ, ನಮಗೂ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಡೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಬರ್ತ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. A beautiful comparison. He has chosen horse. Why? Horse is a powerful animal and it is also strong. It is almost darkish. It is elegant animal. And he says, ಕುದುರೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಅದರ ಏಜ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ವೋ, ನಮಗೂ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಏಜ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಏಜ್, ನಮ್ಮ ಡೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಬರ್ತ್ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. And it is the wish of most masters within my knowledge to keep their slaves thus ignorant. Remember, ಸ್ಲೇವ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಗ್ರೂಪಿಗೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ. ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಕುಡ್ ಬಿ ಅ ಫ್ರೀ ಕಲರ್ಡ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಆರ್ ಅ ವೈಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್. And that man, what is his duty? He has to take care of everybody under his control. He will have a group of 30 or 40 and he is in charge, he is the head and he is the supreme lord for all the 40 people. And what is his duty? Apart from that, he should never let the people know about their relationship between the mother and the father. They should not know about their age. They should not know about their siblings. They should not know anything except being the slave. Nothing less, nothing more. And Frederick Douglass continues and writes, I do not remember to have ever met, he says, ever. ನನ್ನ ಜೀವಮಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಯಾವ ಸ್ಲೇವ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ. I have never met a slave who could tell of his birthday. The birthday nobody has ever celebrated. Not the free colored man, not the masters. He says slave. I have never met even a single person in my life. Just place yourself in this position, in this place. Just get into his shoes and look at the world, what Frederick Douglass has seen. If it happens today, imagine, this is a task for you. Close your eyes for a minute. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಣ್ಣುಗಳನ್ನು ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ, ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ನಾವಿವತ್ತು ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. We are fighting. We Indians are fighting, saying that you belong to this caste, you belong to this state, you belong to this religion, you belong to this color. Now, do you think this existed while we were fighting for the freedom during British rule? Even if it existed, iddidru kuda, we were one. We had that oneness. Think about Frederick Douglass. Forget about fighting for the freedom. In this case, it is even worse. ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರು ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ನಮಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಲೈಫನ್ನು ಲೀಡ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು. ನಮ್ಮ ಲೈಫ್ನ ಲೀಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ನಮಗೆ. ಹೇಗೋ ಒಂದು ಬದುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟಬೇಕಾ, ಕಟ್ಟಿ. 10% ಇಲ್ವಾ, 50% ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟಿ. ಬಟ್ ದೆ ಲೆಡ್ ಅಸ್ ಟು ಲಿವ್ ಅವರ್ ಲೈಫ್ಸ್ at least in some peace, that inner peace, tranquility. But black people, you can't even imagine in your dreams such a horrible life they led. And watch the movie Mercy and you will realize the impact of white people on black people, the dominance, the racial discrimination. Nelson Mandela, African fighter who fought for racial equality. Think about those people. Nobody would chase you out if you walk to the restaurant, 5-star hotels, just because you're black. But in those countries, just because they were black, they were not treated better than animals. Frederick Douglass even continues, they seldom come nearer to it than planting time, harvest time, cherry time, springtime or fall time. They seldom, rarely. What is the prominence of this planting, planting time, spring time, cherry time, fall time, harvest time. They have, each and everything has its time to celebrate. Planting time, there is a time where you have to plant the season. He gives all these times as a comparison and tells that each and everything has its time except the black people, except the black slave traders. A want of information concerning my own was a source of unhappiness. He says, what is this concern? The concern of knowing his age. At what year and when was I born? I want to know my date of birth. To me, even during childhood, right from childhood, maybe he was just 13 or 14 years old, he was so concerned about his date of birth. The white children, this is very important, the white children could tell their ages. I could not tell why I ought to be deprived of the master concerning it. I was not allowed to make any inquiries of my master concerning it. You being the black child, you go to your master, you ask your master about your age, what would you get in return? Ain siktaitu vapasu. They would not tell you your age, but they would make you bleed. They would give you more work. They would give you the meal which you didn't want to eat. Maybe no meal at all. You never had any rights to go to your master and inquire about your family members, about your age, about your date of birth, about anything, except you should know about your work. Apart from that, you had no rights to go to your masters and to ask unnecessary queries. No unnecessary visits. My age. Now he goes on to find out what was his age. He deemed all such inquiries on the part of a slave improper and impertinent. No making sense at all. You go and ask, they would lash back at you saying that it is none of your concern. An evidence of the restless spirit. Who is this restless spirit here? The black people. The nearest estimate, now he guesses, the nearest estimate I can give makes me now between 27 and 28 years of age. I come to this from hearing my master say something during 1835. I was about 17 years old. Remember the year 1835 where he escaped and married Anne Murray. He became an orator. So now he says, I was about 17 years old. When? About 1835. And now is 27 or 28 years of age. My mother was named Harriet Bailey. One more question. Who was his mother? Harriet Bailey. She was the daughter of Isaac and Betsy Bailey. Grandparents, mother's parents. Mother is Harriet Bailey. One more question. Grandparents was Isaac and Betsy Bailey. Both grandparents were dark complexed. My mother was of darker complexion. Now he says quite colored and dark about grandparents, but to make it even worse, my mother is even darker complexion than either my grandmother or grandfather. My father was a white man. Very important. My father was a white man. How come? Sir, you are referring that Isaac and Betsy Bailey are dark and Harriet Bailey is even darker, and it's quite amusing to hear that father was a white man. That's exactly what I wanted to tell you. Black people were not just treated like animals. They were not just treated like horses. They were not just treated like commodities. they were also treated as a machine to please the white masters. They used to enjoy the flesh and bone of black women. They used to give them babies. They used to ill-treat them. They were just considered anything and everything with respect to white people's mentality. If they want to see a black woman as a sexual pleasure, they would enjoy her. If they want to see a black woman as a slave, they would tie up their hands and legs, put them in the field, make them work from morning till evening. He was admitted to be such by all I ever heard speak of my parentage. So Frederick Douglass knew that his mother was black, but he never knew who his dad was or who his father was. But somehow he has heard a lot of people say that his father was a white man. The opinion was also whispered that my master was my father. My master, as I told you, there will be a group of 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 maximum, and the group of people, black people, will have master, and he says my master was my father. But of the correctness of this opinion, I know nothing. The means of knowing was withheld from me. Now he knows, okay, people have told me that my master was my father, but I'm not so accurate. I'm not so sure. Nanaಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. I don't know. ನನ್ನ ತಂದೆ ನನ್ನ ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಆದರೆ ನನಗೆ 100% ಗ್ಯಾರಂಟಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. I don't know. I'm not sure. So I'm just leaving it to the air. I don't want to know. But I'm sure that my dad is my master. It is like completely complicated feeling to digest. So that is it for today's session. In my next session, I'm going to talk more about Frederick Douglass, what he did and what he achieved in his life. Until then, keep reading this. As I told you, go to YouTube, watch the video clips which are available about Emancipation Proclamation. Those are the beautiful, powerful speeches which were given to educate, to eradicate slave trade, to educate the black people, and we need to really appreciate Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King Jr. There are a lot of videos available. Just 3 to 4 minutes videos, watch it, and you would realize the pain and agony that the black people have undergone during those days. We really need to be thankful for those freedom fighters who have fought for our free lives. We'll meet you in the next session. Until then, keep reading. Have a good day.